Just want to put our reading from Jeremiah into context here. The Lord says, "Cursed is the man who trusts in human being, who seeks his strength in flesh." The problem here is not trusting in human beings. If we continue reading, whose heart turns away from the Lord. That's going to be the issue. Do I trust in men and women, and that brings me closer to the Lord? Or do I trust in men and women to the exclusion of the Lord? In our gospel, we have a Pharisee. The Pharisee thinks that since he is following all of the rules, that he's doing okay. But we know from later on in the story that he's going to have to trust Lazarus. Here he is, eating in his nice home. And when they speak about the scraps that fell from the table, rich people in those days, they didn't have napkins. They would have bread. And they didn't have knives and forks. They weren't invented yet. So they would eat with their hands, and their hands would be dirty. And when their hands were dirty, they would take bread, and they would wipe their hands on the bread, and then they would throw it off the table to the dogs. And so when it says that Lazarus gladly would have eaten the scraps that fell from his table, this Pharisee had grown so far from God that his heart was hardened to another human being. When he saw Lazarus, his heart was not moved to compassion. When we see other people in contempt, and this was a problem particularly for the Pharisees. The Pharisees started as a wonderful movement, calling Israel back to faith, calling people back to following the law, following them, encouraging them to be good Jews. But when people didn't follow, they were treated with scorn and derision and contempt. And when we see other people with contempt, we do not recognize that they are made in the image and likeness of God. We think that we are better than they are. And so this chasm forms, this separation between us and them. They don't count. I don't have to be charitable to them. I don't have to give them the benefit of the doubt. And so the Pharisee never made a conscious choice to dismiss Lazarus. He had just lived this way for so long that he didn't even notice the poor dying man at his gate. And so the scraps that definitely could have helped Lazarus, he just gave them to his dogs. He recognized his dogs more than another human being. So when Jeremiah says that we must not trust in human beings, the wrong way to understand that is with contempt. The wrong way to understand that is somehow we need to be separate from people so as to bring about contempt. We need to trust in God, and when we do that, we see other people as God sees them, not with contempt, but with mercy and compassion.